Hello, sixth grade. This is my first attempt at making an audio recording of a book on YouTube. We're going to be reading chapter 1 of the book, Black Holes and Other Space Phenomena. Since we already did the preview activity for the whole book, I thought we could do a preview activity for just chapter 1. Okay, you've already seen this. So this should be to set a purpose for reading. What are red giants, white dwarfs, black holes, and galaxies, and what do they look like? And then we're going to read to find some of the mysteries that are lurking in the dark depths of outer space. Here you can see we have a reference to ancient Egypt. And why, looky there, there's something about Aristotle and Galileo. Should sound familiar. I wanted to draw your attention to the headings. Notice that the heading, Aristotle, is in all caps and in bold print. And then there's several words that are in italicized, astronomer and telescope. Those italicized words, you can define those or find out what they mean in the unknown word section at the end. You should have received this on Monday on the preview activity. So notice there's several cartoon graphics. There's some side notes over on the side. I'm turning the page. Here we have another graphic, and there's arrows pointing out in that diagram, so you can kind of guess that maybe galaxies are expanding. Here you notice that there may be 3 kinds of galaxies. Here, there's a graphic here, and what word would go with that? I would guess whirlpool. Here you see another graphic. What word would go with that? Well, I would guess sombrero. And here's something about telescopes. That should sound familiar because you've already read about those. Here you can guess that there's going to be 3 different kinds of galaxies because there's 3 pictures. Okay, on the next page, you see a diagram of a star, and notice that there's different steps. So you can kind of see like how a star grows and then maybe shrinks again in 7 steps. Here we have something that is going to be about scientists or astronomers. Twin stars, and then I see the word binaries down at the bottom. Well, if you remember, the prefix bi means 2, so that must have something to do with twin stars or 2. And then on the very last page, we're going to find out about comets, asteroids, and shooting stars. And then here's a picture of a meteorite landing. And here's another little cartoon graphic. Just a hint, that is going to be a reading counts quiz. Now you will get the picture of the quiz, and I will also send it to you. It won't have as fancy of graphics as this, so if you want to see cartoon pictures, you can certainly look at this first. Okay, now we're going to start reading. I'll try to pronounce everything correctly. Okay, ancient Egyptian and Chinese astronomers looked up at the night sky and studied the stars with as much wonder and awe as we do today. But their understanding of space was very different from ours. In fact, it wasn't until 400 years ago that people began to accept that our planet Earth is round. Before this time, most people thought that the world was flat. The ancient Egyptians believed the night sky was the body of a goddess called Nut. Her star-spangled body arched over the earth. And that if sailors went on long journeys, they were in danger of falling off the edge. How silly is that? Aristotle, the ancient Greek thinker, realized that the earth must be round as early as 330 BC. He was watching an eclipse when he noticed that the earth was casting a round shadow on the face of the moon. Aristotle believed that the other planets and the sun all travel around the Earth. Galileo, 1564 to 1642, the great Italian astronomer, studied the sky through the newly invented telescope and became convinced that the Earth travels around the sun, not the sun around the Earth. This went against the teachings of the church, and so Galileo was put on trial. Dun, dun, dun. Today, people are still arguing about outer space. The most popular theory about the creation of the universe is that it began with a vast explosion about 15 billion years ago. Cosmologists have named this the Big Bang Theory. After the Big Bang, the universe kept expanding and is still getting bigger today. Some cosmologists think that the universe will stop expanding and shrink back to nothing in the Big Crunch. Dun, dun, dun. The universe contains as many as 100 billion stars. Imagine writing those zeros, grouped together in gigantic star cities called galaxies. The Big Bang sent the young universe flying out in all directions, and even today the galaxies and everything in them are still rushing away from each other at high speed. As the universe grows, galaxies are still forming on its far edges. The Milky Way is the name we have given to our own galaxy. It contains about 1,000 billion stars, of which the sun is just one. We can see it from the Earth as a band of milky white light across the sky. Out in space, viewed from above, it looks like a gigantic whirlpool with spiraling arms. Sideways on, it's a bit like two fried eggs stuck together. Hope I'm not making you hungry. And here's a caption that goes with the graphic. The Milky Way, a spiral galaxy viewed from the side. Countless other galaxies lie beyond ours, stretching out into deepest space. Nobody knows exactly how many there are, perhaps as many as 100 billion. Not all of these galaxies are spiral-shaped. Elliptical galaxies are rounded or oval. Find that picture. While irregular galaxies have no special shape at all. Each new galaxy that is discovered is giving a number, and sometimes its own name as well. M104 has been nicknamed the Sombrero because it looks a little like a big Mexican hat. You can guess what a sombrero is from the context. And the bright swirling M51 galaxy is known as the Whirlpool. Most galaxies are so far away from Earth that they can only be seen through extremely powerful telescopes. These telescopes are like giant cameras that take photographs of the sky. Astronomers do not look through them directly. Stars are born in a great cloud of hydrogen gas and dust called a nebula. This begins to break up and shrink into spinning balls. Then each ball becomes an incredibly hot, and in its center that nuclear reactions are triggered, and the hydrogen starts to turn into another gas called helium. The young star now glows brightly and gives off vast amounts of heat. The sun might seem huge to us, but it is only a medium-sized star. It has been shining for about 4.6 billion years and is about halfway through its life. Its surface is a super hot cauldron of bubbling gases and great tongues of flame. I think of as a cauldron as a big pot where witches brew their stew. The biggest stars are called giants, and they can have 20 or 30 times as much gas in them as our sun. They blaze brightly but soon burn up their gas fuel. Small dim stars are called dwarfs. The brightness of the stars we see from Earth depends on their size and how far away they are from us. A red giant is an old star that has swollen to many times its normal size. The final blaze of glory happens when the star's helium core collapses and gets hot enough to blow its hydrogen up into a vast orange-red ball. The biggest stars may swell into supergiants, 2,000 times the size of our sun. Really massive stars, at least 8 times the size of the sun, don't fade slowly. They go out with an almighty bang and look like a bright new star. Exploding stars are called supernovas. A white dwarf is almost the final stage in a star's life. The gas surface of the red giant is blown off and the star is now a planetary nebula. In the center of the gas shell is the red giant's hot, shrunken core, a white dwarf star. Over billions of years, this fades into a cinder and dies. Black holes, the one you've been waiting for, are one of the greatest mysteries of space. We cannot see them, and astronomers only know they exist because of their effect on nearby stars. They happen sometimes after a star blows up in a supernova. The star's gravity pulls all the material that remains after the explosion inward, squeezing it smaller and smaller. Either a tiny neutron storm forms or a black hole, an object with such strong gravity that nothing can escape from it, not even light. A black hole would suck in any passing spacecraft with a millionth of a second. Even nearby stars would be gulped up. A giant black hole may lurk at the center of our own galaxy, the Milky Way. Pulsars are neutron stars that spin around and around, giving off a narrow beam of light and radio waves which sweep through space like a lighthouse beacon. When these rapid pulses of energy were first detected in 1967, astronomers were baffled, meaning they were confused. Look at his face. Some thought they were hearing messages from aliens. Twin stars are called binaries. These stars spend their lives orbiting each other, held together by the pull of each other's gravity. Although the two stars were probably born at the same time, they are often completely different in color and brightness. Around a quarter of the stars in our galaxy are binaries. Comets are giant snowballs made of snow and dust. They orbit the sun, but only a few ever come close to it. If they do, the heat starts to melt them and they grow long tails of gas and dust. Very cool if you happen to see one. Millions of asteroids orbit the sun in a belt between the planets Mars and Jupiter. Asteroids are minor planets that come in many different sizes. Many are no larger than a house, but there is a huge asteroid called Ceres, which measures around 580 miles across. Some people think that the dinosaurs died out after a huge meteorite hit the Earth, sending up a cloud of dust that blocked out the sun and totally changed the climate. Shooting stars, also very cool to see, or meteors are light trails created by tiny space rocks burning up as they speed towards Earth. Larger pieces that survive to crash into the ground are called meteorites. No one is known to have been seriously hurt by a meteorite, but somebody in New York State had a close shave in 1993. He found that a meteorite had smashed a hole right through his car. This concludes Chapter 1. Now you can proceed to the quiz. Good luck. Hope you enjoyed my first attempt at a YouTube audio recording. Thank you for listening.